Welcome to Revolutionary Speaking. Today we get to interview David Williams, who is a retired radical librarian who has been a radical activist since the 1960s. Welcome to the show, David.
I'm glad to be here.
Sure. Just start out right from the bat. How did you come across being an activist? And what does radical mean to you?
Well, let me take radical first. Radical comes from a Latin word which I've forgotten, but it means the roots. So to me, a radical today in our society is someone who wants to uproot the corporate capitalist system fundamentally, wants to reshape the society from bottom to top, and not just try and modify it or reform it the way liberals or progressives want to do. How did I get into this? I was born and raised in a small town environment in southern Wisconsin, not far from here, but nonetheless, in my starting in my junior year in high school, I started to be affected by the youth culture and the awakening of the Vietnam anti-war movement. And I arrived at the University of Wisconsin-Madison, which is just down the street from here, in the fall of 1968. And very quickly I became involved in what became known as the war at home.
Okay.
Madison was one of the centers of the student revolt at that time, and I very quickly transitioned from being sort of a liberal, peacenik to a socialist radical.
Wow, very cool. That's great. It's very interesting using that term radical. I also see myself as radical. I think we need to uproot the system and completely rewrite something that really is work towards the people. I don't think our system was ever designed for the most common folk. It's always been used off of exploitation of others, oppression of others, whether it's been imperialist through other nations or just oppressing people locally through races, issues, or class issues, or what have you. So, I guess, why do you feel others today should be active? Or in general, what drives you to maintain your activist role? Why do you stay active? And I guess that kind of goes along with why you think others can also be active.
Well, I've been active for almost 45 years because I feel that it's important to develop and to advance a critique of the corporate capitalist system, as well as a critique of what is an environmentally destructive industrial civilization that's going to take us over the brink fairly soon unless there is a radical change. And I feel that although we don't have our hands on the levers of economic and political power, we don't control the mass media, we're in American society, except at moments of great crisis like the Vietnam anti-war era, we're usually marginalized and reduced to our small means of speaking to the public. And nonetheless, it's important to cultivate a radical counterculture, not only intellectually or politically, but personally and socially, because the personal is political.
Sure.
And so, if we can keep this alive, when the next time the economy tanks, or the next time there is a major crisis, we will be able to, I think, reach and influence a wider audience of Americans, and hopefully educate millions of Americans, not only on what's wrong with the capitalist system and what's wrong with our environmentally destructive way of life, but also on the need for direct action in the workplaces, in the communities, and in the streets, which is the only way that we're really going to change the institutions and the economic structure of this country.